We'll now resume. I believe we had a couple other people who wanted to share some thoughts. I just would remind everybody, I think that we've tried to be liberal in applying our discussion procedures to the discussion of this ordinance, because everybody's spoken multiple times, but I certainly don't want to cut off the discussion, but I want to try and urge everybody to be cogent and not be repetitious. Trustee Trolling was at the floor, and then Trustee Stone.
Thank you. I myself haven't reached a conclusion relative to the ordinances as it's written, and I personally would not ready to vote on this. I don't know that there's any urgency at this moment in time, but I would like to make a motion that we defer it to our next regularly scheduled meeting so that, at least in my opinion, I can make a better decision.
Second.
Discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The issue stands deferred to the next meeting.
Staff will work with the council during the course of this week, and we'll have a revised draft out to the board before the end of the week. We'll accept the changes that are reflected in this ordinance, so it's clear, and we'll send out a lined copy, if you will, with changes that are suggested, and get that out this week.
Thank you. We move now to the next item, which I believe is under old business. I believe it's been a request that item be, item A under old business, be deferred for 2 weeks. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. We move now to award of bid of the 2010 bike path and parking lot improvement. Trustee Brayman.
Thank you. I move for the award bid of the 2010 bike path parking lot improvement project in accordance with the memo from the Carol Lever to the board dated April 7, 2010. Actually, awarded to Chicagoland Paving Contractors, Inc., an amount not to exceed $100,218.87.
Second.
Thank you. Again, this is a bid that was opened based on a March 8th, 2010 authorization to bid the 2010 bike path parking lot improvement project. I just want to note for the record that when the bids were open on April 7th, 2010 and reviewed, that the apparent low bidder, that being the company of 47 Incorporated, did not meet the pre-qualifications that were established within the bidding documents, and as such were disqualified. So Chicagoland Paving Contractors is the next lowest and responsible bidder, again in the amount of $100,218.87.
Trustee Brayman.
Bill, just to piggyback on that a little bit, and the difference between that one, which is not qualified, and the one we took is minimal, about $1,500 approximately, correct?
That is correct, yes. The non-qualified bid was $99,387.41, so that is correct.
Okay, thank
About, actually a little less than $1,000, yeah. Yeah.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk call the roll?
Raymond.
Aye.
Weber.
Aye.
Furman.
Aye.
Trilling.
Aye.
Stone.
Aye.
Sussman. Aye. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Moving on to item C, award of bid of the 2010 sidewalk project. Trustee Brayman.
I move that we accept the award bid for the 2010 sidewalk project to Strata Construction Company in an amount not to exceed $116,633.50.
That's it.
Second.
Thank you for the second. Again, this bid was authorized by the board on March 8th. Bids were opened on April 6th. Staff reviewed them, and again, Strata Construction Company is the lowest responsible bidder for the project, again in the amount not to exceed $116,633.50.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk call the roll?
Raymond.
Aye.
Weber.
Aye.
Furman.
Aye.
Trilling.
Aye.
Stone.
Aye.
Sussman. Aye. Motion carried.
Thank you.
We move now to an item of new business now under Plan Commission referral for Kids and Company, 1425 Bush Parkway, special use for Child Care Center in the Industrial District. And I apologize to the petitioner for our extended discussion, which got you starting at 11:30.
I'm requesting a change from the original special use that we were granted as a recreation center so that we can be licensed as a child care center.
Could you use the microphone, I think?
Sorry. After an extended period of trying to obtain a letter of exemption from Department of Children and Family Services with no success, I requested declaratory rulings both in December and in February, wherein they had 60 days to reply. I've yet to receive a response, and those deadlines have expired. Since we've been granted just a temporary permit by the village, I've decided that it would be best simply to seek licensing and eliminate any concerns about operating in the shadow of an exemption. This way we'll be subjected to all of the licensing regulations, staff ratios, equipment, safety, health, and so forth.
Any other questions that anybody has, or just those men who want to
very
review
short.
some of the things?
Thank you. Just a very short comment. Again, as the board will remember, this use was originally approved under Ordinance 2009-91 and further amended with Ordinance 2010-14, which was recently adopted by the board. Let me with the exact date on this past March 8th. The original ordinance and then the First Amendment, if you will, really to address Mr. Hoffman's continuing struggles with the DCFS. Based on further evaluation, as he's noted, he's opted to go back to the Plan Commission to become under the full regulation, if you will, and the appropriate regulation of DCFS, not look for any waivers or variances, but again, to be fully compliant. This would start that process with the referral. It was the staff and the Plan Commission continue to work through this process on the assumption that he will be successful in his review with the Plan Commission. We will bring back, I guess I'll call it the best of all these ordinances and get to one consolidated ordinance that will allow him to move forward.
Trustee Sussman.
Right now, you've planned to have the children there less than 3 hours, therefore you don't need outdoor play equipment.
That's correct.
Is there any chance in the future, if it becomes very successful, that you might increase that amount of hours?
No, I mean, we have no agreement with our landlord to utilize any outdoor space, so we're limited to that 3 hour or less.
Okay.
Trustee Brayman.
Bill, I'm not quite sure why we're referring it back to the Plan Commission. It seems like they went through the process and got approval, and they're not doing anything different. Maybe, obviously, we could put provision in there, maybe modify from the board saying that they have to maintain that licensing. But I'm not sure I understand why the need to go back, have him go through the process again and come back to us for approval when it's the same, effectively the same thing. Am I missing something?
No, I believe, Bob can, I'm sorry, Bob, I didn't want to jump in.
Well, the original special use is a specific for a recreation facility, and this is for a child care center, so there's really two different special uses. So procedurally, a public hearing seems to be indicated. It's kind of difficult to change the nomenclature of the special use, without a due process. So that's what we thought a hearing is necessary.
And also, Ordinance 2010-14 is operating under a time constraint, if you will. The ordinance is only effective until June 7th of this year. And if we're going to restructure and approach the different uses and the different approaches with the DCFS, we thought it was just appropriate to start over, have it clean, and then bring an ordinance forward for the board's consideration, especially when there's a grandfathering on this. I'm sorry, a sunset. Ordinance.
Mr. Rice, I just picking up on what Trustee Brayman said, I sort of feel bad that here's a petitioner who wants to be able to move forward. He basically is saying, okay, I don't want any variations. I need no exceptions. I'm going to play by the full boat of rules, which is making the requirements on him more onerous than less onerous. Isn't there a way we could expedite this? Is there a way that we could do this before the board and in some type of summary fashion, because of the fact that there's really virtually no change of what's been reviewed, other than the fact that he's going to be adhering to more rules?
That's correct.
I agree with the village planner, Bob Fowler, though, that the original ordinance was for recreational use, and this is for a child daycare center, which would be two separate uses. And when we published for a public hearing, we published for the first use, recreational use. Second part of the question, President Hartstein, is can the village board hold a public hearing? Yes, we specifically have given the village authority
I know
in
we've
the
had some
zoning
bad
law.
experiences
But I
in terms
thought
of not
that
adhering to
was-
our rule of thumb, which is referred to the Plan Commission,
That's
where
what I
they should
remember.
best be dealt with it.
Yes, I agree.
But it's the pleasure of the board. Trustee Berman?
Thank you. I hear what the village planner and village attorney are saying, and I tend to agree with them that this requires a separately published new public hearing. While it's somewhat of a hardship and it's unfortunate, I remember sitting here during the last hearing and saying to the petitioner, now you do understand you're taking a risk by going down this avenue, and that, you know, you may reach the point where you have to do something different or you can't go forward, and if the DCFS doesn't come through for you, that you're going to have to go through more rigmarole. And the petitioner said he understood it and accepted that possibility. That, you know, we all went into this with eyes open. We tried to be as business-friendly and as flexible as we could under the circumstances, but I think we do have an obligation to publish for a public hearing, and I think we've learned the hard way that we need to use our Plan Commission to do their job.
Agreed. Trustee Sussman?
I also believe it should go back to the Plan Commission. The Plan Commission looks for certain things when they're dealing with daycare centers, and I think it's very important that all of the criteria is met, and the only way you can be sure of that is if it's investigated by the Plan Commission. So I would agree with the Plan Commission.
Have we had a motion? Did we have a motion yet? No. I'd entertain a motion to refer.
So made.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. This time, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing collective bargaining pursuant to Section 2C2 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act.
So made.
Second.
Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Aye.
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 So rarely.